Assalamu alaikum. We will continue our neuroanatomy lectures. Trigeminal nerve, its fifth cranial nerve. Today we will discuss this nerve. In this lecture, by the end of this lecture, you will be able to answer about why this is called trigeminal nerve, its nuclei, and its ganglion, location of the ganglion, its associations, and its relations, and further divisions of the nerve. Why this nerve is named so? Firstly, this is the largest cranial nerve, and it was firstly described by the Fallopius. Then it was elaborated by the Meckel's in 1748. Then its name was given to it by the Winslow because of its three divisions, that are the ophthalmic, maxillary, and the mandibular division. These divisions are also known as V1, V2, and V3. I will show you afterwards. Here is the pointer shows the origin, the main trunk of the nerve, its ganglion, then its three divisions that are going into the foramen rotundum, foramen ovale, and superior orbital fissure. We will discuss all the divisions in detail in further lectures. Firstly, we come to the nuclei of the cranial nerve, this cranial nerve. There are four nuclei of trigeminal nerve. First is the mesencephalic nucleus that is present in the midbrain. You have done the structure of the brainstem. We have the pons, we have the midbrain, we have the pons, and we have the medulla, and in the end we have the spinal cord. The mesencephalic nucleus is located in the midbrain. Main sensory nucleus is present in the upper part of the pons. Then spinal nucleus is present in the C2 segment, in the upper part of the pons up till the level of the second cervical segment of the spinal cord. The upper three nuclei are the sensory nuclei. The fourth is the main motor nucleus of the trigeminal nerve that is located in the upper part of the pons, just close to the main sensory nucleus. You can see here the location of the three nuclei. This is the coronal section of the brainstem. You can appreciate this in figure. I have labeled it 1, 2, 3, and 4. One is the mesencephalic nucleus. You can see this in the midbrain. Then you can see the main sensory nucleus that is present in the upper part of the pons, and mesial towards the midline you can see the motor nucleus that is labeled as 4, and on the caudal end you can see the spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve that is present caudal to the main sensory nucleus, and it continues with the substantia gelatinosa of the spinal cord. Now we will do the details of these nuclei. Firstly, we will do the sensory nuclei. First is the mesencephalic nucleus, and it is first order sensory nucleus, and it receives general somatic afferent fibers. It relays proprioceptive sensory supply to the muscles of mastication, then facial muscles, and also from the eye. Main sensory nucleus is the second nucleus of trigeminal nerve. It receives general somatic afferent fibers, relay impulses of touch and pressure from skin and mucous membrane of the orofacial region. Basically, it's the oral cavity. Then we come to the spinal nucleus. It is the third sensory nucleus, extends from the main sensory nucleus in the pons up to the level of second and third spinal segment. and further continues with the substantia gelatinosa. It is further divided into three subnuclei that are the oralis, interpolaris, and the cordalis. It receives general somatic efferent fibers of pain and temperature of face. Then we come to the motor nucleus. Motor nucleus is the fourth nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. It is located in the upper part of the pons, close to the main sensory nucleus. It contains efferent fibers as it is motor and innervates muscles of mastication, tensor tympani, and tensor palatii. Here, this is the picture. This is a schematic diagram of four nuclei and their location in the brainstem. First, second, and third are the sensory nuclei. The fourth one is the motor nucleus. Look at the location of the mesencephalic nucleus. It is present in the midbrain. Then we come to the main sensory nucleus. It is present in the upper part of the pons. Then we come to the spinal nucleus that continues from the caudal end of the main sensory nucleus and continues up till the level of the C2 and C3 segment of the spinal cord. All the fibers from these nuclei, they converge and form a single rootlet. The three fibers, first, second, and third, fibers from these three nuclei, they form main sensory root of the trigeminal nerve, and the motor nucleus form the motor root, small motor root, and they all head towards the trigeminal ganglion. The highlighted thing is the trigeminal nerve. You can see here it arises from the pons. Here you can see it more clearly. They are labeled A and B. Here you can see the A is the sensory root. The bigger root is the sensory root of the trigeminal nerve, and B is the motor root, the smaller one. This is the in situ view of the trigeminal ganglion, the way of the nerve it reaches the trigeminal ganglion, and then it further divides into three branches. Here you can see here the cut section of the spinal cord that is present in the foramen magnum. In front of the foramen magnum there is clivus where the brainstem lies. From the brainstem, the fibers of the trigeminal nerve, they head laterally and anteriorly towards the trigeminal ganglion that is labeled as A in the figure. Then you can see 1, 2, 3. These are the three divisions of the trigeminal nerve. First is the ophthalmic nerve that is labeled as V1. Second is the maxillary nerve that is labeled as V2. Third is the mandibular nerve that is labeled as V3. After coming out of the brainstem at the level of pons, the trigeminal nerve, it heads towards the trigeminal ganglion. What is this ganglion and where it is located? Here you can see a bracket on both sides of the skull. This bracket shows the middle cranial fossa. MCF denotes middle cranial fossa, and here you can see a green part. This green part is present on the postolateral surface It is located posterolateral to the foramen lacera, and it is present at the apex of the petrous temporal bone. This stout bone is the petrous temporal bone, and this green portion is the trigeminal impression. Basically, the trigeminal ganglion is located here. And how this cave forms? The Meckel's cave. This is the formation of the Meckel's cave. You can appreciate here the periosteal layer of the dura mater, that is denoted as A. See here, on the medial side of this dura mater, you can see the cavernous sinus that is present on both sides of the body of the sphenoid, and also you can appreciate the pituitary gland. I am just telling you to know where these things are located, where the Meckel's cave is going to form. And now we again come to the periosteal layer of the dura mater. The dura mater, and also see the meningeal layer of dura mater. Both of these layers, they get separate and they enclose a space. That space is known as the Meckel's cave. And you can see here the trigeminal ganglion is present. Again we will continue with the motor root and the sensory root. Look at this picture. You can appreciate here, after the sensory root there is trigeminal ganglion. After the trigeminal ganglion you can see a green nerve, that is ophthalmic, the vein of trigeminal nerve, or the V1. Then you can see the blue nerve, that is the V2 or the maxillary nerve. The ophthalmic nerve, it enters into the eye by way of superior orbital fissure. Then we come to the maxillary nerve. It enters into the pterygopalatine fossa by way of foramen rotundum. In the way of this maxillary nerve, you can see a small ganglion there. There is small ganglion there. This is the pterygopalatine ganglion. We will do its detail afterwards. Then you can see the mandibular nerve. That is the V3, that is orange in color. Basically, the motor fibers are carried by this nerve, the mandibular nerve. Now we come to the associated roots and the branches. This is the branches. Central processes form the large sensory root that are attached to the brain at the junction of middle cerebellar peduncle. The peripheral processes give three divisions that we have just done. Now we come to the relations of the trigeminal ganglion. Firstly, we have to have the understanding of the location of this ganglion within the cranial fossa, middle cranial fossa. This is the superior view of the skull. This is the here you can see trigeminal ganglion written on the right side, just in the last. This is the trigeminal ganglion. On the medial side of the trigeminal ganglion, you can see internal carotid arteries there. There is some bluish things that are that can be seen. These are the venous sinuses within the cranial cavity. On the lateral side of the trigeminal ganglion, there is the petrous temporal bone there. Okay, I will tell you the relations briefly. Superiorly, there will be superior petrosal sinus and free margin of the tentorium cerebelli. To view this trigeminal ganglion, the tentorium cerebelli has been removed. Inferiorly, you will see the motor root, the greater petrosal nerve, apex of the petrous temporal bone, and foramen lacerum. Medially, you can see there is body of the sphenoid, so there will be posterior part of lateral wall of cavernous sinus and internal carotid artery with its sympathetic plexus. I have told you, medially you can see this red area, that is the internal carotid artery that is present within the cavernous sinus, as we have discussed in abducent and trochlear nerves. And cavernous sinus is present on the lateral sides of the body of the sphenoid. Then laterally, uncus of temporal bone is located, and middle meningeal artery and middle meningeal veins are there. And finally, nervus spinosum is also present in its lateral relations. You can have a view of these relations. Superiorly, there is superior petrosal sinus, tentorium cerebelli, motor root, greater petrosal nerve, apex of petrous temporal bone, formal lacerum, posterior part of the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus, internal carotid artery, temporal lobe of the brain, uncus, basically uncus part is there. Then middle meningeal vessels and nervus spinosum. Now we come to the arterial supply of the trigeminal ganglion. This ganglion is supplied by three sources. They are labeled as A, B and C. You can appreciate here the internal carotid artery that were present on the lateral side of the body of the sphenoid within the cavernous sinus. The ganglionic branches come from this artery to supply the trigeminal ganglion, then by the middle meningeal artery that also give ganglionic branches to trigeminal ganglion. Then we have the accessory meningeal artery. These two are the branches of the maxillary artery basically. They both supply the trigeminal ganglion. This is the brief summary you can say of this uh, ganglion and its roots and further branches. You can see here the main sensory root and the motor root. Both the sensory root and motor root, they head toward the trigeminal ganglion. After the trigeminal ganglion, you can see here the V1, that is the ophthalmic nerve. You can see the V2, that is the maxillary nerve, and you can see here the V3, that is the mandibular nerve of trigeminal, or the mandibular division of trigeminal nerve. Here we come to an end of this introduction of the trigeminal nerve and its ganglion. In next lectures we will discuss about its three divisions: ophthalmic, then maxillary, then mandibular. Thank you for your attention.